Good morning, students. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Don't put your USN number and attendee details now. Put it at the end of my class. Okay. Now you people will put your chats now itself. I don't accept it. Okay. Only after the class you have to give the USN number and the attendance. Okay. Right. So in my last class, I think we had started our discussion on the structure and texture of the igneous rocks. Is it not? So today we shall continue our discussion on it. So is there any questions for you people? Is there any doubts? Because this is one very important concept, because this question may arise in such a way that they may ask for the forms of igneous rocks, they may ask for the structures of igneous rocks, or they may ask for the texture of igneous rocks, anything like that. Okay, but beware that the questions remains the same. They may ask for anything, the questions remains the same. Okay. Okay, right. So I think we had discussed on these things. Let's start. Now, is there any questions with the textures of the igneous rocks? Then we should go ahead and start our discussion on the composition. See, these are certain terms which are used for the composition of the igneous rocks. What is it is chemically made of? Okay, so the chemical composition is usually defined for a igneous rock, but that chemical composition is usually not defined for a sedimentary and a metamorphic rock, because by the action of weathering or metamorphism, both the rocks are formed. But these igneous rocks are usually formed from a primary material, that is magma. Okay, so by this primary material itself, okay, so these are certain terms which are used to determine the composition of the igneous rocks. Okay, so what is this felsic? So felsic means if a rock is composed of both feldspar and silica. Silica means quartz. Silica is nothing but the quartz. Okay, so if the rock is composed of both feldspar and silica, then such a rock is usually called as a felsic rock. Such a rock is usually called as a felsic rock. So what happens is the silica content is usually between that of 55 to 70%, and also it comprises of potash feldspar. the potash feldspar, maybe usually orthoclase feldspar or even the microcline feldspar. Okay, usually 1/3 of the feldspar will be present out of the 100%. If it is about 75% of silica, then 25% of the feldspars will be present in them. So such rocks where the felsic rocks or the light colored minerals like the feldspar and the silica is rich, usually the feldspars and the silica, that is quartz, is usually light colored. Okay, so these feldspar and silica where quartz are usually rich in rock, such rocks are called as a felsic rocks. Okay, so they are light colored silicate materials or light colored silicate minerals which are usually present in abundant in continental crust. So continental crust is usually made up of these rock itself, the felsic rock itself, the granitic rock. Okay, silicon aluminum. In my first class itself, when I was discussing, I told you that the continental crust is made up of silicon aluminum, that is sial. Okay, so such where the continental crust you can find this sial composition in a very high scale. So coming to next is the intermediate rock between that of felsic and mafic. Now what do you mean by mafic? Mafic means if it comprises of magnesium and iron. Okay, ferrous. Mafic means if any rock comprises of magnesium, iron, titanium oxides. See, all these three minerals, the magnesium, the iron, or even the titanium, are very dark colored in nature. Okay, and also these minerals are heavy in nature. Okay, even the magnesium, the iron, and even the titanium is usually heavy in nature. Okay, so intermediate rocks are those which are in between felsic and mafic, where it comprises of 55 to 65% of silica, where plagioclase feldspars, not the orthoclase or the microcline feldspars, but the plagioclase feldspars are dominating for more than 2/3 of the total content. Okay, so what happens here is the sodium rich is plagioclase, that is albite, predominates over the calcium rich plagioclase, that is your anorthite. Okay, so next is mafic, where it is comprising of only magnesium and iron. It comprises of only magnesium and iron. So such rocks are called as a mafic rocks, where it contains a 45 to 50% of silica. So you can see there is diminution in the content of silica. Okay, the content of silica goes down, wherein the iron and magnesium content increases. Okay, from felsic to ultramafic. Okay, so it is calcium rich plagioclase which dominates over the feldspars, which are also dark colored in nature. So it is present in the oceanic crust. So these rocks are found usually in the oceanic crust. Okay, so the continental crust is usually made up of sial, that is silicon aluminum, and the oceanic crust is usually made up of SIMA, SIMA, silicon magnesium. Okay, so coming to the ultramafic minerals, so ultramafic contains more than 90% of mafic minerals itself. Okay, so there will be no or less amount of silica. There will be no much silica at all. Okay, the mafic minerals are only predominating in them, and they do not have feldspars also. So these rocks are usually derived from the mantle origin. Okay, so the crustal composition usually is made up of only two rocks. That is, if it is continental crust, then it is felsic in nature. If it is SIMA, that is felsic mafic in nature, it is oceanic crust. If it is ultramafic, then they will be usually derived from the mantle. Okay. Okay, so then coming to the classification of common igneous rocks, you can see what are the felsics and what are the intermediate, which are mafic and which are ultramafic in nature. So phenolitic, wherein you can see the crystals through your naked eye. Aphonetic, where the crystals are not visible to the naked eye. Okay, you cannot distinguish the crystals in the naked eye. That is aphanetic, and phanetic means you can distinguish them in a naked eye. So usually they are the felsic ones are the granite, syenite, and the monzonite. So small example for this monzonite is the rock cliff in the Shravanbelgola. You can see a monolithic rock statue of the Lord Gomateshwara, which is being carved out of this monzonite itself. This monzonite rock itself is used in the carving of the Shravanabelgola, that is your Gomateshwara statue, and the entire mound or the mountain or it's made up of this monzonite rock itself, which is a variety of granite. Okay, so coming to the aphanetic ones, these are the rhyolite, trachyte, and the latites, which are usually basaltic in nature. The Saint Mary Island. Now coming to the Saint Mary's Island, which is present in Udupi. Okay, you might have heard the name of the Saint Mary's Island, wherein many of the films have been shooted out. Okay, so those films wherein you can see the rhyolite. So that Saint Mary Island is made up of this rock type called as a rhyolite. Okay, so coming to the granodiorite and diorites, these are the intermediate rocks which are usually used for your table tops. As a table tops, usually these rocks are being used. These rocks are usually used as a table tops. Okay, when the hotels and other places, you can see the green color rock which is being placed as a tabletop. Okay, so there may be sometimes it may be diorite, and sometimes it may be gabbro also. So the dacite and the andesites have got less applications. Coming to the basalt, yes, this basalt is usually found in the place where you can find the lava flows. Yes, this basalt is usually found in places of Belgaum, and as you go towards Belgaum, the Maharashtra, you can find them. The very famous Ajanta Ellora caves, the Ajanta caves and the Ellora caves, the Kailashnath temple, they are all carved out of this basalt only. Okay, so this using this basalt itself, the Kailashnath temple in the Ellora caves and the Ajanta caves, they have carved many wonderful structures and also wonderful carvings. Okay, so these are certain classification of the igneous rocks. So if they ask for the classification of igneous rocks, then you have to give a broad classification of igneous rocks. Now if they ask for the classification of igneous rocks, you have to write all these things. Okay, you have to write the mode of formation of the igneous rocks based on depth, that is plutonic, intermediate, and the volcanic, that is plutonic, hypofossil, and the volcanic. Then textural classification like the phanetic, aphanetic, porphyritic, fragmental, the pegmatitic, glassy, and the vesicular. And also you have to write the composition also, like the felsic, intermediate, mafic, and the ultramafic. Okay, so now coming to the study of texture, what are these textures? See, when we have to understand the texture, these 4 points are very important. These 4 points are very important in study of the textures. First is the degree of crystallization, next is the size of the grains, next is the shape of the crystals, and also mutual relation between the mineral grains. Okay, now what is degree of crystallization? See, degree of crystallization means it is how much the crystallization have occurred. Okay, so based on this degree of crystallization, they have divided them into 3 important types. One is holocrystalline, holohyaline, and the merocrystalline. So these 3 are very important: holocrystalline, holohyaline, and the merocrystalline. What do you mean by holocrystalline texture? See, holocrystalline texture means if it is comprised only of crystals. See, here you can see the rock type. This is composed of entirely of crystals, and crystals are visible to the naked eye. You can differentiate the crystals, which is quartz, which is feldspar, which is mica, which is other iron, magnesium, mineral, like that, amphibolite, anything like that. Okay, so when a rock is entirely made up of crystal, then such a texture is called as a holocrystalline texture. Clear? So coming to the holohyaline texture, when the rock is entirely comprised of the glassy material. So what is that glassy material? The glassy material means it is in the form of very fine grained crystals. You can see here the rocks are almost glassy in nature. You cannot differentiate the crystal at all. You cannot even differentiate the crystal which mineral is what. Okay, such a texture is called as a holohyaline texture. Now coming to the merocrystalline texture, when a rock is partly comprised of crystals and partly of glass, okay, it is intermediate. So it comprises partly of the crystals and partly of the glass material. Okay, so you can see here, you can see bigger crystals, is it not? You can see the crystals here, and you can find the fine grained matter also, which are lying adjacent to one another. Such texture is usually called as a merocrystalline texture. Now, types of igneous textures apart from these three important ones are the porphyritic and the glassy textures. Okay. The porphyritic textures and the glassy texture. So what do you mean by porphyritic texture? You can see here there is certain larger crystals. You can see the larger crystal grains which are embedded within the fine grained ground mass. Okay, so the larger crystal grains are found within the ground mass. So such texture is usually called as a porphyritic texture. So the large crystals are called as phenocrysts. Okay, and the ground mass is usually called as a matrix. Okay, so coming to the glassy texture, here you can see the glassy texture which is resultant of a rapid cooling of the magma. When the magma cools very rapidly without giving ample time for the formation of crystals, like that of a candle, if you drop a small piece of candle onto the ground, it starts its crystallization, or it starts to cool very rapidly without giving time for the formation of crystals. So such one is called as a glassy texture. So such rock type is called as a obsidian. Okay, porphyritic texture, you can see the large crystals here. You can see the very large crystals which are embedded within the fine grained ground mass. Here you can see the large crystals which are present within the ground masses. Okay, so it represents the two-stage cooling. It represents the two-stage cooling. One is the rapid cooling of the ground mass and the slow cooling of the larger crystals. One is rapid cooling of the ground mass. The ground mass will be of much of iron and magnesium minerals. So iron and magnesium minerals usually cools at a very rapid rate, leaving behind the felsic minerals, silica and quartz. Silica and quartz usually cools slowly. So that's why there is ample time for the formation of the crystal. Coming to the glassy texture, we can see obsidian. These are very fine grained. It is just representing like that of your coal piece, coal tar. You cannot even make out the crystals because of the rapid cooling. It is because of the rapid cooling of the crystals you can find out the glassy texture. Okay, next is size of the crystals. What is the size of crystals? See, degree of crystallization means holocrystalline, holohyaline, and the merocrystalline, wherein comes the porphyritic and the glassy texture. Usually the glassy texture is also called as a poikilotic texture. Okay, so coming to the size of the grains, it is different in different rock types. The slow cooling, what happens is when there is when the magma undergoes very slow cooling, there is very much time required for the formation of the crystals, and it gives the larger sizes for the crystals. Okay, more than 5 mm. What happens in a rapid cooling? The mineral grains cools down very rapidly. Due to the rapid cooling, there is no much time that is got to the formation of the crystals. There is no much time that is required for the formation of the magma to form the crystal. So the crystal should be less than 1 mm in size. Okay. And come, when the crystals or the mineral grains can be seen through the naked eye, it is called as phenetic or pheneric. Or if the mineral grains are too small and it can be not be distinguished to the naked eye, then it is termed as a aphanetic texture. Okay. So coming to the size of the grains, you can see the fine grain, that is less than 1 mm, medium grain, that is 1 to 5 mm. So from next class you have to attend on time, otherwise I'm not going to let you inside the class. So this is for the last time, I'm letting you people inside the class, and from next class if you are not going to be on time, definitely I'm not going to let you in. Okay. Coming to the fine grained, it is less than 1 mm, medium grain 1 to 5 mm, coarse grain 5 mm to 3 centimeters, and if it is very coarser, then it will be greater than 3 centimeters. That is about the degree of crystallization and also size of the grains or the crystals. Next is the shape of the crystals: euhedral, subhedral, and anhedral. So these are the three terms that is given to the shape of the crystals: euhedral, subhedral, and anhedral. Okay, euhedral means it is idiomorphic, subhedral means it is hypidiomorphic, and anhedral means it is allotriomorphic. So if it is euhedral, then what happens is the grains are completely bounded by the crystal faces. You can see the matrix wherein you can see the well developed crystals here. You can see the well developed crystals, is it not? The shape of the crystal is being very well developed. It has developed very clear faces. Okay, so such ones where you can find very clear growth of the crystals is called as a euhedral ones. Subhedral means it is formed of interlocking grains, but the crystal grains are not very clear. Okay, the grain boundaries are not very well developed, but it is developed but not too well developed. Okay, such ones are called as a subhedral. And anhedral means it is not having any shape at all. They do not have any perfect shapes. Here you can see euhedral and you can see subhedral, partly developed faces also. But in anhedral, what happens is you can see here it is does not having any clear shape at all. It has developed on a random scale. It has developed on a very random scale without any clear edges. Okay, so such ones are called as a anhedral texture. Okay, followed. So then coming to the structures of igneous rocks, these are very important ones, the structures. So I think I'll discuss these structures tomorrow. If you have got any questions, you can ask me now, because these are very important. The flow structures, the forms of igneous rocks. Okay, these are very important ones. The structures of igneous rocks. Okay, structure and texture are very important. That's why I'm telling. Because it is due to the crystallization and solidification of magma, it is developed into two phases. One is intrusive and the extrusive. If you have got any questions, you can ask me now. And I'm going to post the attendance status of all you people by tomorrow. And if anybody is having less attendance, less than 50%, and I'll be having a meeting for you, all of you. Please, those people who are having less than 50% attendance in all the subjects are informed to attend the meeting. And also the first module notes have been posted in the Google Classroom. Okay, first module notes have been posted in the Google Classroom. Start reading the notes, and if you have got any questions, you can ask me at any point of time. Okay, So all of you put in your USN numbers in the chat box. So we shall continue discussion next class. Thank you. Has everybody